morning. Right, I've got a massive pile of papers next to me, but I've got an ace panel of reviewers to help me find the best bits. Joining us down the line is Marianne Sieghart, journalist, commentator and author of The Authority Gap, Why Women Are Still Taken Less Seriously Than Men and What We Can Do About It. Also here in the studio is Helen Lederer, writer, actress and comedian and author of the book Not That I'm Bitter. Hello, Helen.
Well, lovely to be here, Adam.
What's the bitterness level this morning?
Very,
low, I hope.
Very low, full of joy.
Even just reading after reading all the papers.
Totally, we're finding it.
Also joining us is Sam Lister, who's political editor of The Express. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Adam.
Getting all revved up for the budget?
Yeah, when I leave you today, I shall be heading into the office. I am working on the paper's budget coverage for tomorrow. So it's a very, very busy week ahead.
Trying to work out what a striver is.
Striver.
It's just one of those words. Like, what is a striver?
Nobody says it in real life.
Helen, have you ever called yourself a striver?
I wouldn't admit to it. I'm a grafter and I wouldn't even admit to that either.
Okay, right. First news story. Marianne, what have you got for us and where's it from?
I've got two interesting stories about the American election. The first one is from the Mail on Sunday. Desperate Kamala pins hopes on Beyoncé bounce. She got both Beyoncé and Michelle Obama to support her in the last couple of days. And this is very important because she is really trying to appeal to female voters. And at the moment, she has a lead of 16 points over Trump when it comes to female voters. Now, of course, he has a corresponding lead among male voters. But what Harris is pinning her hopes on is that there are more women than men in America, and women are more likely to go out and vote than men, and particularly young women. And so, of course, she's focusing on reproductive rights and the Dobbs decision on abortion. And I think that both Beyoncé and, of course, Michelle Obama's endorsement should help her there. And the other interesting story is in The Observer, newspaper that broke Watergate stirs up fury in liberal America over neutral election stance. Now, this is the Washington Post, which has declared that for the first time in 48 years, and even in such a consequential election, it's not going to endorse a candidate. So it's not going to row in behind Harris, which we would all have expected otherwise. And people are speculating that this is because Jeff Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, is worried about what Trump might do in revenge if he wins the election. He might take revenge both on Amazon, which Bezos owns, and on the Washington Post itself. And I think that is quite chilling.
But Marianne, in the editorial the Washington Post published, they said they were just returning back to their roots of being impartial and not endorsing a candidate at all. Are you saying that that just doesn't cut it in this era?
I'd say, yeah. Frankly, they've been doing it for half a century. That's not the reason why they're doing it.
And Sam, on Marianne's first story there, which is the picking the people to endorse Kamala Harris that will appeal to women, the thing that strikes me as a British political journalist looking at America is it seems much more kind of identity-based. You are a woman, therefore you're probably going to vote Democrat. It's not like that here.
No, it's not. In America, we know that abortion is a huge issue in the way it isn't in the UK, and so is religion. And so I think it's incredibly confusing and baffling for us looking over the pond and seeing their wrangling about abortion, which we think of as a settled issue. But I think there are similarities. I mean, ultimately, this election in the US is going to come down to a few 100,000, if that, votes. Their swing states are essentially just our marginals. That happens in the UK. Their Rust Belt is our red wall. So there are similarities, but yeah, certainly the identity side of it is very, very different.
Right, Helen, what have you got for us?
Oh, okay. I was going to join in that.
Oh, no, please do.
Well,
yeah.
I was just thinking that surely we are quite united this side of the pond, hate that expression, but anyway, that, worrying about the future should Trump. I think most of us worried, should Trump get in, what will happen in the more global canvas. So that is driving our position. Anyway, so the story I found in the Mail is Prince's memory of visiting homeless shelter with Harry first sign of a thaw? Well, basically, there's going to be a documentary out where Prince William is heading an initiative to eradicate or diminish in some way homelessness. But I think it's been the headline slightly hijacked. Like, I think he mentioned the word Harry in it. So it's also become a story about, does he mention the word Harry or not? But there's sort of, he is in a privileged position, but I think it's a very positive story because even though people criticise his privilege, what can he do? He's trying to make change, just as King Charles did with the Princess Trust. So it's a positive story.
How do you feel, though, about the fact that Prince William seems he can never just do anything on its own merits? Everything gets interpreted, oh, what does this mean for his relationship with his brother?
Yes.
Some of the other papers have said, oh, he's doing this because he's inspired by his mum.
Yes. Well, and then maybe with the actual documentary, and one actually sees the person relating to people and initiating a platform for change, one might allow and afford a little bit of slack. Go, as an individual who is born into this position, you are at least doing something. I think more and more we should try and hang on to, fact and positivity in this terrible life we're in at the moment of criticism.
Marianne, are you okay with a very wealthy, privileged individual
So not biased.
trying to beat homelessness?
Absolutely. If you've got that many homes yourself, the least you can do is try and help people who've got none, I'd say.
There you go.
Right, Sam, what are you going to bring up?
Well, Adam, we've already touched on this, but in the Sun on Sunday today, Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor, has written a piece setting out her plans for the budget. It's the headline is, "I know this is tough, but I've got your back." And I think it's just the use of language. If you've covered budgets, as many budgets as we have, certain phrases crop up over and over, and it's always about what are they trying to signal. And so I think it's very interesting in this piece. She says, "Let me be clear, I'm doing this for the hard-working families up and down the country who've been crying out for change." And then she says, "It's a budget for the strivers." And so if you are a singleton slacker, cover your ears on Wednesday because there's nothing in it for you. But it is an interesting concept, isn't it? Who are you targeting? Who are you trying to say you're on their side to? And I think this is a very common thing, hard-working families, strivers. It's very kind of George Osborne, actually. But in reality, what we're seeing is a lot of money going towards the state, a lot of money will go into the NHS. We've seen big pay rises for public sector workers. But people in the private sector, small business owners, they're worried that they're going to be hard done by. It's going to be interesting to see if that turns out to be the case.
Do you think Rachel Reeves has opted for the word strivers because the working people label, they've got so confused about who is a working person and who isn't?
They've got into such a mess over this. And I find it quite astonishing, really, because, in the election, obviously, they were clearly trying to give themselves some wiggle room post-election. They knew they were on course for victory. They knew they'd have this big budget to do. And so they tried to keep it as broad as possible. But obviously, most people think of themselves, even if you are a small business owner, if you're getting up at the crack of dawn and working, 17-hour days to keep that business going, you feel like a working person. You don't feel like some big fat cat who's got, a couple of Jags on the drive. And so I think they've got into a real mess about that. And so, yeah, I think this is the shift is onto the strive is that again. But again, that leaves a lot of scope for interpretation, doesn't it?
Helen, have you picked up any little budget nuggets?
Yeah, I did. I mean, obviously, a lot of their mission statement is what they inherited. And then, therefore, as you were saying earlier, there are only certain routes possible of redistributing and trying to get more money for the important causes, whatever one agrees they are or they're not. But there's a little bit of hope for people who like a drink, myself included there, that Rachel's, I call her Rachel now. Okay. I think that's
First name
okay.
terms,
Given we're going to see her a lot in the coming week. To act after a survey found that 3/4 of drinkers believe it's important for pubs to offer a wider range of drinks. So more pubs will be able to nurture their local drink industry. So she's encouraging a pub thrivingness, if there's such a word, and also maybe look at maybe not smoking, banning the ban smoke in gardens. It's just to encourage more industries to be co-opted in pubs rather than just the big ones.
Marianne, I mean, thinking about the subject of your book about women being taken less seriously than men, what's your take on how Rachel Reeves is presented in the papers and the media as the first female chancellor?
Actually, I think she's been presented pretty well. The fact that she was an economist at the Bank of England in her previous life, I think has helped her a lot, because it's given her the sort of external authority that she might not otherwise have. People always question women's credentials more than they question men's. I mean, no one ever asked what George Osborne knew about economics. He read history at Oxford. No one ever said, "Oh, I wonder if he can do his sums." But the fact that she has that already in her back pocket, I think, has really helped her.
Marianne, there's another story you wanted to flag up about Nicole Kidman.
Yes, I love this. The Mail on Sunday asks, is Kidman film's ultimate cougar? And they've got this wonderful chart comparing her age when she made each film with the age of her male co-star. And the ages of her male co-stars have fallen dramatically from 57 to 37 to 28 in the most recent film. And I just love this, because this happens so much the other way around. You get this sort of craggy, almost elderly looking man matched with an implausibly young and beautiful female co-star. And you think, oh, come on, this is just the male director's fantasy. So I think it's nice to see a bit of symmetry in this.
Helen, is this a trend you're going to be embracing?
Well, I embrace any trend that gives me employment, being a striver and a grafter. So I don't really mind what age a person I work with, but I do take Marianne's very observed point. I am enjoying Nicole, lots of close-ups on her in The Perfect Couple on Netflix, where the errant husband is actually older. But a very good point that has been made. Would you not agree, Sam?
Yeah, I think, but the point Marianne makes about the craggy older man and the younger woman, we don't see craggy older women. I mean, let's be honest, in Nicole Kidman is perfection. It doesn't matter what age she is.
She's not craggy.
She's not craggy at all.
Not
so
sure
we've
about
not quite got there in the quality terms.
Her wig selection lately has been a little bit off. Now, this time next week, we'll have a new Tory leader. And Helen, there's some stuff in the Telegraph.
I love this story in the front page of the Telegraph. Absolutely. It's the sort of discreet way of the two top Tory hopefuls having a discreet pop at each other, and all in discreet language. I absolutely adore the veiledness.
I'm not sure. Yes, not that veiled.
Exactly. So Mrs. Badenoch says, integrity matters statement. Yeah, I think we could all agree with that. We should agree with that. With me, you'd have a leader where there's no scandal. I was never sacked for anything, pointed remark. I didn't have to resign in disgrace or, because there was a whiff of impropriety. So, but my worry is whoever wins, then the other person won't then be given a job. This is the risk you take. But that, gloves are off, would you not say?
Well, I was going to say, Sam, Wednesday, the budget, it will be Rishi Sunak who responds to it, because it's the leader of the opposition that responds to the Chancellor. That's his last hurrah. He'll be gone after that. Maybe not as an MP, but...
He will. No, that is his last hurrah. And the result will be known of this contest, which has been going on for as long as I can possibly remember, will be known next Saturday. And so we'll finally have a resolution. They'll finally stop fighting each other. But I think, as Helen says, actually, whoever wins this, at the moment it's looking like Kemi Badenoch is in the lead. But whoever wins this, I cannot see the loser taking this well and going off and being all supportive and come by
changing tack immediately the next day.
Exactly. I think we're going to have big, deep factions in the party for some time to come.
Marianne?
Yeah, I think Kemi Badenoch's making a really good point here, because if Robert Jenrick wins, then Keir Starmer will be able to say at every PMQs, I'm not going to take lessons from someone who was found to have done unlawful favours for a porn baron, which is basically the scandal that Kemi Badenoch is alluding to. It puts Jenrick right on the back foot from the beginning.
Although Robert Jenrick does say in relation to that issue that he was not found to be biased. It's just that there was a technicality about how he made the decision, he would say. Sam, you talked about resolutions. There's a resolution you've spotted to a very, very long-running mystery that the BBC has found.
So in
the
in the Sunday Express, page 18 of the Sunday Express, the headline is "I Found Lucan Hiding in Australia," and it's a 3-part documentary by the BBC to coincide with the 50th anniversary. And I'm just fascinated by how fascinated we are as a nation with this crime. It's the son of the victim, so Neil Berriman. He's gone out to Australia. He believes he's cracked the case. It was his mum, Sandra Rivett, who was murdered by Lord Lucan. He's found a man who's described as an elderly, frail Buddhist man man in Brisbane who he says walks with his arms behind his back and says things like he knew Princess Margaret that have convinced him that he's on the right track.
Is this
is
credible,
the man.
Sam? Is this
well,
I need to know.
We shall watch the BBC three-part documentary and we will find out. But he says that the man, even now at nearly 90 years old, he's an arrogant, powerful, horrible old man.
Great, mystery solved. That's the Loch Ness
wait.
Monster on iPlayer. Thank you very much, you three. That was a joy. Thank you very much.